Yuliya Kosko. I'm from Ukraine originally, and I'm going to tell you about our charity and how you could get involved if you wanted to. So I have a short presentation to share with you. I am going to share my screen, and then we will have plenty of time for questions and answers. Okay, welcome everybody. I have three words on the screen now, which are Ukraine, education, and war. And I think in the last year and a half, we have heard the combination of two of them very often, which is obviously Ukraine and war. And I don't think with any conflict in the world, we hear enough combination of words, which is education and war, or the role of war on education in any country of conflict. And I don't think you know much about education in Ukraine, considering you all have Western names here and probably haven't even been to the country. So I'll tell you a little bit about that as well. Starting with my background, which is, I think, an important intro to how we started. So in February 2022, just a few weeks after the war has started in Ukraine, it affected me greatly personally because I was born in Zaporizhia, which is southeast of Ukraine. It is not under Russian occupation now, but the region is, not the city itself. And my parents were there, and I had all my friends and childhood memories, obviously. So I started to think how I can help and what I could do to support the people of Ukraine. And my whole career was in educational sector. I used to be a primary school teacher in a state school, and then I worked as, or still have an education consultancy, which mainly works with private educational sector and private clients and finds the perfect match for both. So I had a network of tutors and schools that I have been working with and my former colleagues. So using that network, I organized a few lessons delivered by volunteers from the UK, but then it was actually from people from different parts of the world. We still have volunteers in the west of Canada and east of New Zealand. A majority are from the UK. And I have got in touch with my former teacher of Russian language and literature, ironically, in Ukraine. And we connected Ukrainian students from my former school with these volunteers. And that's how we started. And then you can see the timeline that very quickly we kind of rolled like a snowball with the help of so many amazing people and companies and friends. And we got a pro bono service from a law firm, which helped us register as a charity. And then Heather Rhodes, the principal of Harrow School Online, became dear friend of charity, eventually a trustee as well. And Harrow School children, Harrow School Online's children got involved in peer-to-peer teaching and lots of different projects with our students. So we felt very empowered at early stages, and that helped us develop very quickly and grow very fast and keep on growing strong. Education in Ukraine is very different to the UK, and that was something that my knowledge obviously became very handy in initially, because I don't think it would have been easy to maintain the lessons without the support that we had to both. So Ukrainian children, on one hand, were very scared, you could say, of the lessons. Of course, they had these horrible things happen in at home. They had to run to bunkers every couple of times, sometimes every couple of hours, really, a day they spent in the bunkers. Their education was on hold for many weeks, and they were not exposed even before the war to native speakers of English. So it was quite a challenge to put them at ease sometimes. And initially with the first teachers, we still have some of them working with Svitlo. You could tell that they were worried, like, oh, am I doing something wrong? We're all obviously humans, and this was an unprecedented situation for everybody. And lots of English experienced teachers were nervous before their first session and maybe worried that they didn't get the active response that they were hoping for. But then actually, because of that, the joy of opening those children up and making them speak and getting them involved was so much greater than anything you could expect, because now, the children who stayed with us initially, usually it takes them a month or two to warm up. And now much they get acquainted with chatting and teachers very fast. But initially, because the whole group was new children, it was a bit, difficult. But all that is because in Ukraine, the approach of teaching is still pretty much of teacher delivering a lesson or a lecture to children, and children listen, nod, and then memorize, come back, and kind of report what they have learned without mistakes, or mistakes are considered bad, or like they shouldn't be made. So we're that's the joy of Svitlo Education as well, I think, is that other than supporting them, showing them solidarity, teaching them English, teaching them all those lovely things that they learn from our volunteers, we also change their perspective on education and make it more fun, and maintain that curiosity that we're all born with, but unfortunately sometimes lose on the way to becoming a grown-up. So education in the UK, in Ukraine now, is still obviously not back to what it was. So it already wasn't perfect. I guess no educational system is perfect anywhere in the world. But considering what I have told you with a bit of an old-fashioned approach, with the war, things are even worse now. So some children don't go to schools physically, so it's all online, which we are also online, but obviously, we don't have a choice. But in Ukraine, they lose that social part, which is not great. Lots of teachers left. Lots of teachers that I have been, working with through Svitlo in Ukrainian teachers, I could notice that the level of high spirits is kind of very patchy, or going down a little bit as the war is carrying on, because of course they have their children, they have their homes and everything else to worry about. So my worry, like as I said initially, because we started so fast, it was about fixing a problem immediately, now and there. And now we are growing into this mission of supporting Ukrainian people and bringing up future social and political leaders, and opening up the world to them and teaching them all the work ethic, and engaging them in discussions and teamwork and everything else that we can from abroad, to show them that there is bright future. They're only young, and the war is a horrible period in their lives, but there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel, or not at the end even, soon in their lives. And that's where our name comes from. Svitla means light in Ukrainian, and we were described as a light on my future by one of our children, who at 15 thought that to him it felt that the life was over, or there was just darkness in the future, because they didn't, like, the parents lost jobs, houses, and they stayed in Ukraine. And then with these lessons, bit by bit, I think he realized that actually I'm in charge of my future, and if I get engaged, there's help. If there's lots of people coming over to help me. So if I make a few steps towards them, then there's a bright future, hopefully. And what we are offering to children now in Ukraine, this is our beautiful student council. We try to teach them all those skills that I mentioned previously, by not just delivering the lessons directly and encouraging them to take ownership of their learning, but also encouraging them to develop leadership skills. So if you have a look at our website, we have a student council. You can read about each student individually, and that enables children to take control of their learning. And that's also, if you join us, your future supporters. So we have prefects, and each prefect is responsible for one, sometimes 2 or 3 lessons. That's up to them, how many they want to be in charge of. By in charge of, I mean, of course, you have Svitlo team in my face, and director of academics, and Daria, who is our Ukrainian head of admission. She's in the UK, Ukrainian refugee, but in the UK, but she is responsible for admitting all the children and communication with the children and teachers. So you have, as a volunteer, you have the support of Svitlo team, of course, but we also encourage students to communicate with teachers and make sure, take the register if needed, and make sure that, you know, there's nothing missed out, other students miss out on. We have buddy support. As I said, you know, for a new student to join our school can be sometimes a little bit intimidating just because they are not used to being taught in English by native speakers, and are not used to frankly, being encouraged to make mistakes and speaking and everything else. So we have current students named as buddies, and they take responsibility for a few new students for the first initial 2 weeks, but usually they become friends and stay in touch for longer. And they check on them every day and answer their questions, and sometimes give them a call. We have mentors who are older children supporting younger children to become buddies. And house system was something that we came up with as kind of middle middle ground for the system that Ukrainian students are used to in terms of getting marks for every answer they give, or like being, you know, being marked all the time. Almost every lesson in Ukraine, you would get the mark at the end of it. And students started asking us, "Oh, how did they do today? What did they get?" Like, you know, they wanted this kind of cookie points. And of course, that's not the system in the UK, and something I don't support personally. So we came up with a house system, which is actually quite attractive for students in Ukraine. They feel that they're part of Harry Potter story, I think, sometimes. So the children were in charge of naming the houses. With the student council, we decided on names, and then we have a leader for each house, a few leaders for each house, and the teachers are encouraged to give 1 to 3 house points to some children, not all of them, if they feel like they want to award them. And I think it works very well because the Ukrainian children get part of what they are used to, but also it's all ends up to a team effort, right, and teamwork. And then we give them little vouchers for books or something from stationery shop in Ukraine, and things like that. So it's nice, encouraging points. We have 16 trips from Ukraine to the UK today. Not today, sorry. Well, today there are 5 students in England, but this summer there were 16 traveling to the UK to various English schools. Harrow School gave us 2 places. Then we have a Boss School in Kent, Discovery in Shrewsbury, and other schools, St. Giles, if you know their names. So they gave us places to our top students, and that was mainly this group was mainly for the students who took active part in helping out in school council. And we decided, Switla team had a few conversations with the teachers, and we decided who they would be. It was a logistical nightmare, as you can imagine, probably you can't even imagine, because to get a visa, this is something off the topic, but to get a visa to come to the UK, you need to go to apply for biometrical data to be taken, and then you need to go to Warsaw to pick up the visa, then go back home, and then travel. So some children, I think, spend 40 hours traveling from Zaporizhia to England. All worth it, all a great adventure. On our Instagram account, you can see their stories and different photos. So all good fun, life-changing experience for them, absolutely life-changing experience for them in terms of, well, everything, new friendships, sleeping through the night, first time for many in 18 months because of the air sirens, obviously. And we're so grateful to the schools who offered us those trips. We had Pearson Academy online that we work in partnership with, and that's nothing to do with like you as volunteers, but it's just part of the school which you will be part of, hopefully. So the students who do really well, they get free online bursaries in online schools, which lead them to certificates which they can use everywhere. We don't have anybody applying to universities abroad yet, but hopefully there will be some on scholarships in America. It's not the mission of Ukraine, of Svitlo, to, you know, send them study abroad, not the main mission. But if children are of the level that they can pursue with that and apply for themselves and get a scholarship, then of course we'll support them. But the big mission is that then, when they grow up, they work towards rebuilding, redeveloping Ukraine wherever they are. Yeah, Instagram, student blog, TikTok, all the fun bits that are part of the community. And as I said, you will be supported by the team of Svitlo Education, people who work in the charity at the moment. So what I mentioned, everything previously, was mainly about supporting Ukrainians in Ukraine, children in Ukraine. We also have a small part of the charity which we hope to expand, and that's supporting Ukrainians in the UK. So we have online lessons, and that's something that, again, we work with our volunteers depending on where they want to help most or where they have experience. So we had some volunteers who had no experience teaching children and didn't want to get involved in it. So they have the option of teaching English to Ukrainian refugees. It's mainly ladies. A lot of them volunteer at Svitlo or now have part-time jobs at Svitlo. All our part-time jobs at Svitlo that we are offering now are Ukrainian refugees who have been volunteering for month and month. And we were lucky enough or hardworking enough, let's put it that way, to get some fundraising to pay them salaries. We have a small group of GCSE age children. So that was year 11's last academic year. And now we are working with EdPlace platform. If you're listening, we love you. Thank you so much for all your support. They gave us free membership to our students, sign up memberships, yes, to their platform where students can practice GCSE tests and little, homeworks in core subjects. And EdPlace also provides lessons for them every week or every fortnight in core subjects. And last year we had a group that we were supporting through EdPlace, but also volunteers who are specialists in GCSE curriculum. And we had 5 subjects that we were supporting: math, English, and 3 sciences: biology, chemistry, physics. Hoping, so fingers crossed, for when is it, next week or the week after, to get good results. We had some children with all 9s predicted. And again, it's so important, I think, because so many children in Ukraine who moved to the UK knew some English, but so many of them didn't know that much English, or they had English skills, but they couldn't portray, like they couldn't, show their knowledge in other subjects through English, because English wasn't at the right level, or they didn't know how to. Obviously, they are marked by certain technique that they need to show in their answers. So it was just a little help that they needed to actually get those 7s, 8s, and 9s. Of course, it's something that the certificate that they will have for life. So I think it's also very, very important mission that we have, supporting children who are here already. We have been doing a lot of consultations and advising on university applications and personal statements. So again, if that's your strength, we would really love help in that. Because again, we have lots of smart Ukrainian children in the UK who don't know the system. Their parents haven't gone to universities here. They don't know how to apply. They're not familiar with UCAS. So at the beginning of the war, I think I did a few webinars, which got like 14,000 organic views. So you could just see the demand for that. And we try to group them into small groups to get bigger numbers that we can support. And what we are in the UK for Ukrainian children in terms of Svitlo School online is that all this extracurricular lessons built on your strength and your hobbies. So even though if you're an English teacher but you love, well, Harry Potter, let's say again, it could be lessons about Harry Potter, or watching movies, together, but learning English through it. Same, we had people, teaching astrophysics and model of United Nations and investment club, and all the skills that are fun, I think, for teachers to also, that's their hobbies, or something that they love doing themselves, their passions, and then they, kind of infect the children with their passions, I think would be the right word. some absolutely amazing lessons that I tried to attend myself as much as I could. And we also try and, of course, make it very practical in terms of the need for Ukrainian children. So the children who were in Pearson Academy online still are. We have now a leader who supports them, and we have new intake for September in Pearson. But initially, what we found out last autumn when we started working with Pearson is that Ukrainian children didn't know how to get in touch with their teachers in Pearson and how to email. And all the teachers were emailing me asking, what's happening, why they're not responding, or maybe they don't know. So we had a course on email writing and how it's a bit of a cultural differences, but also, a bit of a small talk that you probably know some foreigners are not used to, but makes a big difference when you write an email. So we had, topics like this covered. Google Drive course, as I mentioned before, was also very handy because obviously we can then use it in school. So it doesn't have to be subject specific knowledge that you would like to share. It could be anything from your personal experience. I think we had the club on pets once, or animal anatomy as well, because we had this teacher who taught biology, but then lots of her kids were with cats during their lessons. So it kind of organically grew into pets anatomy. As a volunteer at Svitlo, I think you get as much as you give, and that's what we keep on hearing. All these lovely comments from LinkedIn. We have a very active, that's the skill I developed in the last 18 months, is LinkedIn page admin. So we have the lovely community on LinkedIn, Svitlo Education, with where you can obviously, of course, also mention that you volunteer, and we try to provide different training and support. Zoom have been lovely, giving us free professional accounts, and that's the platform that we use at the moment, which for some children, for some teachers, we have a Ukrainian teaching assistant who is in charge of Zoom links as well. So she would connect to the lesson, and you just connect as a student. She will record it for you and send it to children who couldn't attend. And we started recording all our lessons, obviously because of safeguarding reasons, but also for practicality for children. It doesn't excuse them not showing up to your lesson if they on the sign-up sheet, but if they don't have power, for example, or they had to, run into shelter, then that's a good alternative. Because it's a free school and online, and there's no kind of tests and benchmark to aim for. All of our children are so enthusiastic, and they would attend as much as they could. And we had some cases when children were texting their prefect or emailing their teachers saying that, sorry, I cannot attend, I'm hiding, and or I might attend, but it's a blackout, so I'll be in the dark without my camera. And some really touching stories. So Zoom, we have training that Zoom provided for us. It's a recorded video that you're welcome to watch once you join. Zoom account that, as I said, either you will have a teaching assistant, particularly for younger children, or we will sign it up to you personally, and you could use it at other times when you're not volunteering. Lesson Up platform, where you can plan your lessons and take some lessons that have been already planned and shared, is something really to look into for you. Obviously on their website there's most information, but we had a training done for them by them, and you can also have an account. Qualified teachers have been very kind lately, and recently rather, and there is a recording of the panel discussion that I took part in one of the festivals that you could also watch, and they have given us an offer that nobody can refuse, and that's unlimited membership if you do DBS check through them. In terms of DBS check, of course, it's welcomed, but we are looking into getting sponsorship for doing the checks for our volunteers. But if you don't have it, then you will have a Ukrainian teaching assistant who would be with you during the lesson. So there are ways out of it as well. And I just wanted to show this little video from a movie. And I think Tom Hanks put it in better words that I was.
Yeah, Charlie. It's like the congressman from Kabul. Did you hear me say it was $1 million, not $1 billion, for school construction? You know, we heard you. Everybody heard you, buddy. They heard you at Dover, Delaware. Well, I sure hope I'm not annoying you, Bob, because that's the last thing I want to do. Look, I was in the Roosevelt room with the president last week. You know what he said? He said Afghanistan. Is that still going on? Well, it is. Half the population of that country is under the age of 14. Half the population is under the age of 14. Think how fucking dangerous that is. They're going to come home and find their families are dead. Their villages have been napalmed. And we helped kill the guys who did it. Yeah, but they don't know that, Bob, because they don't get home delivery of the New York Times. And even if they did, it was covert, remember? This is what we always do. We always go in with our ideals and we change the world. And then we leave. We always leave. But that ball, though, keeps on bouncing. What? The ball keeps on bouncing. We're a little busy right now reorganizing Eastern Europe, don't you think? We've spent billions. Let's spend $1 million on HR 118 and school. Charlie, nobody gives a shit about a school in Pakistan. Afghanistan.
I apologize for the language, but it better come from Tom than me. I think that was very powerful message in terms of how, you know, we help conflicts in different countries as much as we can, and governments help. But what is going to happen to Ukraine after the victory in 5-10 years time next year, and what's going to happen to the people there who missed out on the education and missed out on you know, many things, that the skills that they need to actually then take the country into a democratic world and lead the people, you know, to independence that their parents are fighting for. And that's the big mission of Svitlo Education. And I love this drawing. I borrowed it from Outstanding School's conference, and I think it's just so nice. And friendship is better than a worship, for sure. And you know, we couldn't have done it obviously without all the people, and it's all the, even by dedicating an hour of your time a week, you're going to make a huge difference on people's lives and the organization as a whole. And just to remind you of the structure of the curriculum, so we do hope for continuous support, and that's 6-week courses or ongoing lessons. So there is an option of a career path or a topic seminar. So for example, if you want to, maybe if you're a book author and you want to tell us about your book, or you want to talk to children about your career path, it could be 1, 2, or 3 sessions, you know, which will introduce them to, you know, interesting concept or a topic, and maybe encourage them to pick up your career or to look into it, because a lot of the times children just have in Ukraine, and especially now, they're a bit lost in terms of what to study for in universities and which career options there could be. Ideally, we would like somebody to commit to ongoing lessons in 5 to 6 sessions. So we are now going to start this approach in September, where we would have 1 week, what we call a shopping week, where you could start by introducing yourself, introducing your topic, and, you know, just getting to know children, and children getting to know you. And then there would be a sign-up sheet that children can sign up to, and we can decide with you individually how many children you would like in your lesson. So we have a guitar lesson with children, with 5 children only, and that's taught in English, and that's children who have guitars, obviously, and who are interested in it. And I don't think there could be more in that particular class. But then we have ongoing lessons. That's bullet point number 3 here, where it's story time or mentoring in, you know, personal statement writing, for example, or English clinic, or student blog, or TikTok videos, where children just kind of can, it's ongoing basically, and the children then decide with the teacher what they're gonna do next week, or the teacher decides what book she's gonna read next time. And there we don't have a sign-up sheet, and everybody can connect. So it could be up to 30 children in a lesson sometimes, which is fine because it's not as interactive, I suppose. And then, of course, if you have any skills that could contribute to the running of the charity, will be very welcome you will be very welcome to give us. And also, if you're part of a school in England, we really looking forward to partnering with some schools, and we are going to have partners. Well, we had already last year in Switzerland with Eglon International School, Harrow School Online are our partners. UCS is joining us for their sixth formers peer-to-peer teaching with our students. We had a lovely project with Norfolk House in North London, where primary school, as a primary school, we had joined assemblies and pen pals, and they did the run for us. So which was really lovely, and did some fundraising for Svitlo. And I actually went to visit them and did a presentation about Svitlo, so it was really, really touching. And of course, as I mentioned before, on the curriculum, it could be in subject of your choice, or we have some ideas that we would like to develop. So if you feel that you could help us in that, this is some of them. We're really looking forward to developing anti-corruption course and media awareness. Debating and presentation skills is something that we really need. Journalism, which could be part of our student blog. Diplomacy, politics, model of United Nations, always need teachers for English as a second language, of course, as well. We discussed a bit about the benefits for you, other than the obvious ones. Lesson Up, at Play, Splash Academy are also our partners now. And in terms of how to join us, you could email hello at, but maybe Yuliya at svitloschool.com. That's my personal email. Fastest way would be to connect to me through LinkedIn, or connect to Svitlo Education through LinkedIn. There's our website as well. After initial contact by email, I'll ask you to send us some your CV or LinkedIn page and reference DBS check if you have. If not, we can discuss that, obviously. And then there would be a short video call with me or Gavin, who is joining us as Director of Academics in September, where we'll discuss your particular curriculum and approach to leading lessons with Svitlo Education. And we'll welcome you to our team, give you all the information you need for joining other platforms and everything else. I think that's it from me.